welcome to Author Nation. I'm Melody, and today I'm going to be reviewing a book, the Nonfiction Book Proposals Anybody Can Write. And this is written by Elizabet Lyon. She's written, 8 books or, books and booklets. And this year she was actually nominated for a Lifetime Achievement Award, I suppose you could call it. She was the 2021 recipient of the Stuart H. Holbrook Literary Legacy by the Oregon Book Awards Advisory Committee. So that was in recognition of a significant contribution to her local literary scene, helping authors for many years. And today I'm going to review one of her books. And so she's been writing, editing, teaching, consulting for over 20 years, so she really knows what she's talking about. So let's start with about the book. Nonfiction book proposals, anybody can write, will help authors, nonfiction authors who want to write a book proposal and get a book contract from a publisher before they start writing the book, or at least before they write the entire book. That is the whole purpose of her book. And although the book's a little bit older now and some of the information is a little outdated, the foundations of the book are solid. Some things never change, and a lot of what she says hasn't changed. Although some of the resources and some of how you go about it, some of that has changed. But the foundational information in this book, still solid. So what's the big question that she answers? What's that one big promise she makes? So the big promise is after you've read this book, you'll be able to write a book proposal that an editor or an agent will be willing to look at. They may not seek it out for you may not get a contract because it's the wrong book, it's the wrong time, it's the wrong title, it's whatever, there might be something wrong, but you will be able to write a quality book proposal that will give you a leg up against the competition that the agents and editors are looking at. So just to be clear, an agent represents you, and they will go to many publishers and find the best deal for you. An editor often represents a publishing house, and they're looking for new titles to bring into the publishing house. And so they're different, whether you're sending to an agent or an editor, just to make that clear before we get into the meat of it. Her book is really well organized. So most of the chapters reflect a part of the proposal, and she goes into each part of the proposal and fits them in together. The first chapter is a little bit more general, and the last chapter is a little bit more about how to market yourself in query letters. But the bulk of the book is about actually writing the proposal, each chapter representing a section or a part of a quality proposal. One thing I really liked about the book is that at the beginning of every chapter, she sets out the goal. She does goal. In this chapter, you're really clear on what you're going to get out of each chapter, what the outcome of each chapter is going to be. Another thing I really like about it are the sidebars. She's some really, she goes on and has sections, but then she has these really helpful sidebars that add extra things in or give examples or worksheets or, questions you should ask. So the sidebars are really helpful. So each chapter starting with a goal and having the sidebars, it's a really well organized book. Another thing I really liked about it are the examples. So in each section or each chapter, she talks about a section of the proposal, and then she shows you examples, real life examples from proposals. And what I really love about this, not only that you get the examples, at the end of the book in the appendix, she lists out all the books that she uses, and then she tells you whether they got the contract or not. And she'll tell you a little bit about why she thinks they got it or didn't, or how many, if she knows how many books they sold or whatnot. That's all in the appendix, and I found that really educational. And then at the end, there's that appendix, but there are other appendices as well, sample query letters, sample literary agreements, and so forth. So, she's got some really great stuff in the book. My overall impression then is that this is a really well-organized book, packed with valuable information. Now, that said, I struggled to get through this book, and it's usually when I read a book to review it, a week. A week is the longest it takes me to actually read a book and jot down my notes and think about it, because when I read a book, I get really into it. Now, for whatever reason, I had trouble getting into this book, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, I get it. There's just a lot of valuable information. And once I was reading it, it was okay. But I only did a little bit each day, and it took me over a week to read it because I just do a couple of chapters a day. Unlike most books where I just like dive in and love it, this one took me a little longer. And I questioned that because it's valuable information, but at the same time, and it wasn't challenging, it wasn't complicated to read, but it was difficult to read in another way. And I'm not quite sure why. Is it that it was dry? I'm not sure. It was so well organized. There's so much good to say about it, but I will admit I did have a little bit of a hard time getting into the book and getting through it, even though I found it valuable. Another thing I want to say is that these days, a lot of what is in here is on a publisher's website as well. I mean, so let me rephrase that. A lot of what the publishers are looking for are on their website, but they don't go into that detail on like really how to sell yourself. So I would combine this, today's world, I would combine this with the publisher's website for the publisher you want to get a contract from. So you go to the publisher's website, you're like, yep, they publish my genre, this is the publishing house I want, this is what they want, this is what they want their book proposal to look like, and then match that up with what's in here and read the parts of this book so that you understand like what really to write in there and how to sell yourself in that book proposal, because the publisher is telling you we want this, but they're not saying this is how you sell us. And so I would combine this with a publisher's website. If you're doing your proposal on your own, that would be my recommendation. This book is specifically for nonfiction authors, including memoirists, who want to get a publishing contract, get an advance before they start writing their book or before they start writing the majority of their book. Your proposal does have to have some sample chapters, so you do have to write some of the book before you send it in. But just to be clear, this is really about getting a proposal to a publisher, getting a contract before you start, and getting a contract with hopefully an advance so that you have some money in your pocket to sit down and actually write the book. Just to be clear, that's who it's for. It can be valuable for authors who are just planning their book as well, but it is very specifically a very specific audience, nonfiction, wanting a publishing deal. Would I recommend it? Yes. Not because it's an exciting read, because as I said, I had some trouble getting through it, and it might be a challenge to stick to it. But again, find out what the proposal is that the publisher wants and then match this up and go to this book for that stuff that the publishers won't tell you. That's my advice. And that's it. So if you'd like a copy of this book, there is a link in the description. If you've read it, I'd love to hear about it. If you're going to read it or after you read it, please come back and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And if you'd like more, you can subscribe.